Welcome back to Visual Design for Multimedia. Today we're going to talk about an issue of when you import an Illustrator design like I have here, this little mind map, into After Effects. The text, unfortunately, is not editable within After Effects. It's just treated as a vector file. So if I load this right now, I'm going to go to After Effects. And I just have a blank After Effects here. And I'm going to open up. Let's go get this Radial AI. So if I bring this in, even if I bring it in as a composition, which is going to bring all those layers, here's all my lovely layers. If I open up that comp, there they all are. But you'll notice like all of my text layers were actually on one layer there, and I can't do anything with them. Like I can't click into them. They're just vector shapes. Even if I put each little text item on its own layer, they'll still just show up as this blank layer. And normally you can go to layer and create, and you see there's a ghosted out convert to editable text. Well, amazingly enough, Adobe has not figured out how to let After Effects natively be converted into that. You can do it with Photoshop, but you can't do it with Illustrator. Now, I can go in and convert any of these shape layers. So like I have the CO2 shape layer up here at the top. Right now it's just a vector shape, but if I either come up here to layer and create, I can turn that shape into a vector or create a shape layer in After Effects from the vector layer. I can also do it just by right-clicking on it and go to create, convert that. And then you'll see I actually have all the points. And I can actually change its color now. I can do all sorts of different things inside of here. I can, it's just like any shape layer that I had created with shape layer tools inside of After Effects. I can even play around point by point. And like I could actually animate these points if I wanted to, and I could start to like transition these things in some interesting ways. As you can see, if I open it up, there's actually a contents, and there's all the little paths that we're working with. There's an outside path and an inside path, on the shape. So you can actually play around with all of these. You can set keyframes on all these paths. There's a little keyframe icon, and you can have a lot of fun animating everything. But I'm going to put that back. So I want you to see that at least the Illustrator files do come in that you can edit the vector shapes, but let's get back to the text. So there is a workaround. So I'm going to go back to Illustrator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my layers panel. I'm going to turn off all of my vector shapes and just leave on my text. So I'm going to turn all those off. I am going to leave a background layer in here because if I don't, it'll mess up the alignment of how the text layers back on when I bring it into After Effects. So I do want to have a background layer at least. There's nothing in there. I mean, I could make it a shape, but whatever. I'm just going to leave that off. And you'll notice all my text is in here, but if I unfold the text, each individual item is still on its own like sublayer. It's been grouped. If I pulled these out, I could do that as well. I could take all these out, I believe. I think I could ungroup this. Actually, I don't know how to ungroup that off of one layer. But anyway, I could at least copy and paste them onto new layers if I wanted to. But I'm going to leave it how it is. So now that I've done that, the other key thing you have to do is you have to make sure that your Illustrator file is set to RGB for its color mode space instead of CMYK. Sometimes when you open up Illustrator, you might not realize, but if I opened up a new Illustrator doc, by default, it always goes to CMYK for print, and you might not have set it up. So you can either set it up when you first start it up as RGB, or you can go at any time and go to File and come down to Document Color Mode and change it to RGB. If you do not save it as RGB, it will flatten the file no matter what you do every time you try to bring this Photoshop file that we're about to export into After Effects. No matter what you do, it'll not maintain layers as a CMYK. It's because, After Effects is not designed to work with CMYK data. That's really for print media. So you have to make sure it's RGB. I can't say that enough because it drove me crazy, and I can't tell you how many forums I had to go through to find that little factoid out. So once we're in RGB, now I can go to File and Export as. And out of this list, I can choose a Photoshop PSD file. And I also want to turn on Use Artboards. This will maintain the size of this so that these things line up properly on top of them. If they don't, this is going to export just within the perimeters of where the text is, and then you're going to have to reposition it and do all this stuff. So turn on Artboards, go to Export here. And in here, you want to make sure that your screen resolution is 72 ppi. By default, it might be at 150 or 300. If you do that, it's going to be too big. It's going to be like for print resolution again. So make sure it's screen 72 ppi, and make sure you turn on write layers and preserve text editability. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm going to replace the one that's already there. There is an infographic 01. And so now I should be able to go, yep, here we go. Here's infographic 01. You can see it's just the text, none of the other stuff. And if I come in here now and I go to File and Import, and I go grab that PSD, not as footage, but as composition. That's another important one. Hit OK. Now you're going to get this window. This is the window that will not pop up if you do it as CMYK and not RGB. I'm just warning you. It'll just come in automatically, all merged and flattened, and it won't work. So by enabling it as an RGB doc in Illustrator, this brings this window up. I can keep it editable layer styles. That's what I want. I hit OK. And now you'll see here's my radial infographic. If I open that up, here's my Photoshop with all those individual layers. So I can double click that, and here's all that text, right? So if I go back here, I can actually drag this radial graphic onto here, and look, it works. I guess I didn't delete out, one's on top of the other right now, so let me make sure I go in here and at least turn off that text layer. Yeah, see, before I had this one, this is the old text layer, so I want to make sure those are off. And then I can turn this on, and now I have my Photoshop composition ready to go. And so if I open that up, it's kind of weird, like every time there's something grouped, it puts that into another composition. It's just a nested comp. It did try to still have all of these, but they're not visible right now, so it maintained all that other stuff too. But whatever, it's fine. Here's my text layers, and if I double click into that, now I have all these individual text layers, this subcomp. And what I can do is I can actually select all of them, right click on it, go to create, and convert to editable text. Now I have all that ability to come in here on any of these layers, change my text, change the color, do all of the cool like text animate abilities that we've shown in previous lessons. It just opens everything up. And if I go back out of these nested ones, you'll see it's all together. And you know, if I want to, I could come in here now and just delete that extra text layer that I don't need. And I'll go ahead and just delete that one for right now. And then I can just select all of these layers that are my shape layers and do the kind of the same thing I did on the other text. I can right click on it, go to create, and create shapes from vector layers. And you'll see what's so cool is it actually, like, you know, sorry, my layers got a little funky here. Oh, sorry, there's a little warning. That's okay. Not a problem. Let me just fold all these up so you can actually see what's going on here. Fold them up. You'll see it created, the original illustrators are still there. So I'm trying to just click off of this for a second. Of course, there we go. Come on. The originals are there, but they're not visible anymore, and the new shape layers are on top of them. And everything just gives you a better preview as well inside of After Effects. And I have full capabilities now to animate all the shapes, all the text inside those shapes. So I hope that helps out. I think the key points on that are A, make sure you're RGB in Illustrator, save it as the Photoshop, follow all those steps, and you'll have full editability. And one day, if we're real lucky, Adobe will fix this issue and make it just so that when you import your stuff from Illustrator, you can just toggle a box like make everything editable, text too, and it'll just come in that way. But this is the workaround I figured out and I wanted to share with all of you. Please get in touch if you have any questions or concerns, and thanks as always for tuning in.